Hello, my name is Dr. Lisa Templeton, and I'm here to present a presentation called Empowering Yourself with Mindfulness. So this talk was originally done at Boulder Fusion Academy, and because of a last-minute power outage about 5 minutes before I completed the presentation, it was not able to record. So for those of you who missed it, here it is. We're talking about empowering ourselves with mindfulness. So what does it mean to really be empowered? Empowerment, the Oxford Dictionary gives a definition of this: the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. So this can feel pretty difficult in a very chaotic world. The world we are living in is difficult, and to claim some sort of power in that world is tough. So how do we do that as an overloaded mom, a teenager, a person working 60 hours a week? It just doesn't feel like there's enough time in the day. We just got to focus on our lives and tasking. This is, how many of our lives are set up. So, and it does feel like others are dictating what we need to do, our kids, our wives, it's just the way that everything is organized. And it can feel very overloading. So when it comes down to empowerment, the only thing we can control is ourselves. That is it. We cannot control or manage anyone else. And it could feel kind of like an untamed mare at times, just going wild in our minds, going wild in our hearts and our bodies. So, if that's all we can control is control about power, what is power? Let's talk about power. We're breaking this word down so that we can set the stage of a little grounding, then build from there on how we can exercise our power. So what is power? Power comes from the Latin word potere, means to be able. So, oftentimes people associate power with strength or force, control, influence. And I want to stress it's very important. This is a huge problem in our society right now. Power is not about dominating over someone else. We don't gain power by stepping on someone else's head to reach up higher. That is manipulation, and that's never going to make us feel truly empowered within our spirit and our soul. And so it's not about managing someone else. It's about managing us. And when we take our power, we have the ability. We are absolutely able to do this within, if we can move past our fears of looking within ourselves and the obstacles that are there that cause a lot of fear, that cause a lot of discomfort, that we generally are taught to move away from. So true power starts with listening within. And we have to listen, this huge computer brain we got going on, it's massive. And it's a processing system that conditions that, we are animals. And we don't even realize that there are Pavlov's dogs going on in our minds, we're like just responding. And we don't even realize until we stop and listen. And so to learn how this system works, we slow down, ground, and work on being. So we try to, be instead of do so much. And maybe a little bit of a thread of both, because we can't just stop doing and be a like a monk living in the, it doesn't work that way. We have to thread being and doing together. We cannot live as human doings. That is not working to empower us. So to take more control over our lives, we have to stay in the present. Louise Hay, I love her. One of her really wonderful quotes: the point of power is always in the present moment. So take a nice deep breath, and we're here. As Eckhart Tolle has said, the moment we recognize we are not in the moment, bam, we're back in the moment. Those weren't his words. The bam part is mine, but it's certainly this kind of, if we set an intention of like, oh yeah, that's right, I wanted to be in the moment more. Well, here I am. Right when you show up, just be there. If you recognize you're not there, you're already there. Which is a beautiful and more simplified version than, being agitated and aggravated with ourselves that we're not in the moment, and then we've added a whole layer of judgment. So, which we will get to judgment here in a little bit. But I want to talk more about being in the moment, noticing what is around us, taking a moment to ground, and not just feel, from our head space, but to actually embody what we're experiencing in each moment. So some of you may know that I published a book, and that was back in 2018. It's called Letting It Be, Mindful Lessons Toward Acceptance. This has been so helpful for me in the work I've done on myself and the work that I've done with thousands of people as a clinical psychologist over the years, and just, spiritual advisor and motivational speaker. I am celebrating the 5th year anniversary of this just last week. So April has been pretty amazing. I can't believe it's been 5 years. I think COVID really threw time, but it really is amazing to me that 5 years went by on that. Now, if you haven't read the book, I highly recommend it. My baby, so I'm maybe a little biased, but I have gotten some really great reviews, and I'm so blessed and happy that so many people have purchased the book, and I've gotten so many great comments. Each chapter is about being in a certain energy. You can be with love, you can be with your thoughts, you can be with emotions, be with mindful choices, be with your breath, be with your body. So that's just a little preview. Certainly, if you have any questions or you're wondering about the book, please check in with me around it, because I really it very much means a lot to me, and I know that it has been very helpful for many, and I'm truly grateful around all that. So if you're wanting to be more and practice being more, this may be letting it be is the whole idea, to be more with ourselves and work toward acceptance, because acceptance is the path to peace. If I'm in resistance to things, if I'm in resistance to being, then I'm going to just do. And if we're doing all the time, then we don't have a chance to tap in to the wisdom, the power we really have underneath all the tasking of life. And it's always going to keep going. So when we're talking about well-being, work-life balance, school-life balance, it's about harmonizing the being and the doing. And I want, if anything that you take from this talk, to be able to think about threading the two together. You can do it. To be is to pay attention, to live in the moment. Just be mindful. What am I thinking? What was that? What was that thought? So mindfulness, empowering ourselves with mindfulness. What the heck is mindfulness? mind full of thoughts? Yes, absolutely. Upwards of 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Some are higher based on neurons firing in the brain, and the measuring that researchers have done to try to understand the volume, the sheer volume of thoughts that we all have each day. And 95% of these thoughts are repetitive. Things that we've already thought we thought the day before and the day before that. Whether we're conscious of them or not, most likely not, because there's just no way to be conscious of all these thoughts. So, I want to talk about the definition of mindfulness, which comes from the term was coined by a man named John Kabat-Zinn, psychologist, researcher, and his definition is pretty simple. It's 3 parts. So we're paying attention in a particular way, consciously, on purpose, so intentionally, without judgment. That third part is the hardest for everyone. So without judgment, okay, what does that mean? It means, that we are paying attention, we're breathing, taking a second, looking around, using our senses. We're doing this on purpose, so we're setting an intention to try to be more mindful. And that if we notice any judgment, we just notice it. Oh, wow, what am I judging myself for here? So we take a nice deep breath. Let's just practice a little bit together. Just take a nice deep breath with me right now. Ground in your seat, or maybe you're walking, maybe you're laying down, whatever. Doesn't matter. You can be mindful anywhere you're at. Maybe you're unloading the dishes right now. Maybe you're taking a walk. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Any moment you can tune in and you're present. So we're just going to stay aware, notice for 20, 30 seconds here. Calming the mind, calming the body. Maybe it doesn't even want to calm. It's okay. We can still notice it. The untamed mare running around our mind. Nothing to judge. No matter what we find, we can change it. Sometimes it's the quiet observer who sees the most. So we just engage our observer. And we've all seen there are lots of obstacles that get in the way of this practice, which is tough. The busyness of life, we just get going. It's like, oh, I probably should be in the room. I got too much to do. Blah, blah, blah. I got to focus here, focus there. It's so easy to get distracted in all this external world of chaos. And then we can forget our intention to slow down. And then we're just moving. Trying to be as productive as we can. So many people's self-esteem and worth seem connected unconsciously to how much we're tasking and how much we're getting accomplished, productivity. I think we all need to watch that, because we are not the product of, our worth is not our productivity. Our worth is here. And it's always here, no matter how much we get done, how much we task. There's a lot to do, yes. A lot of maintenance here, a lot of maintenance, loved ones, house, things like that, of course. Thread the being and the doing. Another obstacle of mindfulness, problems in life. We got pain, we have health issues, we have loss, grief, anxiety, mental health things. We feel overwhelmed, depressed, fatigue, going through changes with hormones, whether teenager, menopause, or, even males that go through changes in hormones without really a lot of indicators of what's going on. wanting to fit in, wanting to be perfect, not feeling good enough. Conflict with self is a huge obstacle. It's like, I don't want to deal with that conflict. I don't want to listen. Blah. Just keep swimming. There's even a movie about it. Come on. So what's tough, the biggest obstacle in my book is judgment. That is the sticking point of that definition of mindfulness. Like, just be present in the moment. Yeah, I got intentions. All right, without judgment. Ooh, that's a tough one, right? I hear it from so many people, and I notice it in myself. So I want to talk more about judgment. To judge is normal, obviously. We are human beings. We're going to make judgments. We're assessing situations all the time. There's judgments here, there's judgments there. It is the energy of judgment that we have to watch. What is the energy behind the judgment? I could be like, hey, I like that coat. Or, wow, this Italian place is really good. Or I didn't like that restaurant because, whatever, the service was bad. It's a judgment, right? Whether it be positive or negative, we're drawing conclusions about things. So when we watch for the energy of judgment, and so I kind of like, because it's deeper, it's a little bit deeper. If we listen, if we're being, then we can notice it. If we're doing, it's like, it's underneath the din. So if we go underneath a bit and we notice it, it's usually, this is what I notice within it, it's usually based on kind of a limited assumptions, like kind of a dualistic approach, it's like good or bad, enough or not enough, that kind of place. And then if it turns toxic or uncomfortable, if we are being, then we feel it and go, oh, I'm sorry. You're more than that. And we know when we talk with each other, it's like good and bad, it's like, I'm either good or I'm bad. It's like, that is so simplistic. It's just totally not catching the truth of our nature. We know this. So apply that. It's like, that doesn't catch, I'm not enough. What are we talking about here? Enough, not enough. There's so much more. All the gray area, all the intricacies. And what is the aspect we're talking about? Good enough at what? In what particular realm are we speaking? It's too simplistic. And so when we notice that toxic energy, we can step back from it and go, I'm sorry. Take a breath. I love this Hawaiian. It's a prayer, basically, that is also really a poem. It's a beautiful way of working with self. I find it's simple. It's I love you, thank you, forgive me, I'm sorry. And I tell you, all my selves, all the parts of me really enjoy that. It's a nice mantra for a reminder of like, what, I'm sorry. I'm working on this. So we're building courage for listening in, and if we can listen to the judgment and be like, I hear what you're saying. Let me show you a broader way. Let me show you a little bit different way of looking at this. Ooh. Now we're talking about working with the judgment, not just going, oh, judgment, bleh, get over there. That is, no one feels good with that. So stay kind with yourself and consider the context of your life. Every time you judge someone, you reveal a part of yourself that needs healing. And same with yourself. You're judging yourself, you're revealing a part of yourself that needs healing. I'm sorry. I love you. Thank you. Forgive me. So I want to get a little deeper on even more ways to work with mindfulness here. And this is where cognitive behavioral psychology comes in, and CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I pride myself on, I'm a cognitive behavioral psychologist, and I work with people from that way. I got all kinds of tools in my toolbox here. But I do love CBT as a good grounding and starting point, especially with the use of mindfulness. So basic premise of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is that thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all integrated and interconnected. So a thought can bring on a feeling can bring on a behavior can bring on thought, all that. They're all intertwined. So we want to, first off, keep calm. Don't believe everything you think. Seriously. Question it a bit. Where did I get that information? We're wondering, all this misinformation, what's true, what's not? It's like, truth is here. If we are listening, this is why it's so key to go underneath the din, is because we can kind of feel in what's your gut saying about what to believe. What are the facts? What are, like, courtroom of the mind? I find that to be an incredibly useful tool for assessing truth within myself. It's not going to be someone else's truth all the time. That's okay. I honor and respect that. Whatever it is, we have got to honor and respect each other's truths. And if those truths are, not laden in fact or, in misinformation, whatever it is, I don't even know what that means anymore, then, that's between them and them. Not me. I'm not managing any of that. Just honoring and respecting. So 4 ways here to work with your thoughts that I want to talk about. And first off is just thinking about what you're thinking. So, as often as you're possible, what am I thinking? What was I thinking there? What was that thought? Oh, that's interesting. So you're setting an intention. I'm just going to think about what I'm thinking about and notice more what I'm thinking. This is a form of listening, right? And being with yourself. And even, if we're going to work with judgment, then we're going to let ourselves be. That means that whatever thoughts comes, like, I don't know if I like that thought. All right, well, I'm going to work on changing that. Cool. Glad I caught it, right? Because how are you going to change 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day? Those could repeat in your mind, for eons. If I notice that it's there, that is the first step to changing it. You cannot notice what is unconscious. So, if you feel an intense emotion, what was I just thinking before that? Oh, I was thinking I'm not going to be good enough for this or that or whatever. It's like, blah, I feel sad. I feel stressed. Okay, well, I change my thought or I shift it and say, you know what, I don't even know if that's true. And then the intensity of the feeling can actually decrease, which is so important because one of the hardest things about working with our thoughts is how intense our feelings become. Same with behaviors. It's just like, get to doing again. This emotion is too big. I'm going to go, drink or watch Netflix or, I don't know, do whatever it is that, numbs you, right? But, and I'm not saying those things can't be useful, but if we just take a moment to stop and kind of check in first, as Rumi would say, welcome the guest in his famous poem, The Guest House. Just to be able to slow down. And then, in the slowing, we catch what's going on, we notice what's happening, and we see the pattern. Man, when we see the pattern, talk about empowerment. I mean, it's pretty cool. We don't have to judge these things. We don't have to avoid and cut ourselves off from these parts of ourselves. It's really, really harming us. And it's really harming our relationships with each other. So, you notice it, you don't like it, you change it. I mean, sounds simple, doesn't it? Well, easier said than done. But it's true that it can be done. An untamed mare can be taught. It takes patience and it takes time. So, one of the things that I really want to stress, that I notice so often in our society, not just with my patients, but within myself, within just general societal conversations, is that there is a lack of discernment between thoughts and feelings. So, for example, I'll hear people often, and I think you're gonna notice it as well. People saying, "I feel like no one likes me. I feel like I'm gonna fail this test. I feel like the worst is gonna happen. I don't know." And so those are all thoughts. And if you add "I feel like" in the beginning, because I'll ask people, well, how are you feeling about that? I feel like nothing's ever going to work. Okay, what is the feeling? Right? Nothing's ever going to work is the thought. And it's like, oh, whoa. Once we kind of, separate, then we can learn, oh, the thought is that, and I can change that. What is the feeling this thought brings me? Anxiety, worry, I don't know, stress, most likely something like that. If I change the thought, I can change the, So keep in mind, and you'll notice it. You'll be like, oh, I feel like, this day is just horrible. Like, it's such an interesting phenomena in our psyches that's going on. I'm trying to take that out for myself, and it's like, I feel sad that I'm thinking no one likes me or whatever. And it's like, I don't have to think that. It's like, what is the evidence? It's, and again, I don't know, everyone's life has a context, and there may be somebody who feels very lonely. So being able to ascertain exactly what the feeling is, not exactly, but general subjective sense of like, I feel, sad, I feel down, I feel angry, I feel frustrated, various intensity levels of feelings that we have named or labeled for ourselves. Getting clear on those things and discerning for yourself. Last thing about working with your thoughts, stay open. Don't be quick to assume, explore. What is a weed in your mind garden? What's not working? What's clenching the blossoms that you want to grow? What's in the way? And weeds in the mind garden, there's lots of different errors in thinking that we might have. Everyone makes them. Nobody's immune to weeds ever in their mind garden, in any garden. So what are some of these weeds? I wanted to talk about them a little bit. All or nothing thinking. It's like, if I don't succeed, I'm a failure. If I'm not first, I'm last, which is, I thought it was a funny thing from Talladega Nights. But this is actually the way people are thinking in our society at times, and it's making them very upset. And there's no space. It's a weed that's choking out the things that they want to grow. Exaggerating. I have no friends. I don't have what it takes. I'll never, be able to get the promotion. It's like this, and then it's like, well, I have one friend. Well, okay, then I have no friends is not a true statement. And that statement is making the intensity of our emotion higher. So, fortune telling, another one. I know I'm terrible at this subject. I know I'm going to fail. I know I'm going to do a terrible job on this project. Well, that's not fair to you. And to be able to say, you know what? I'm sorry. That's not fair. I don't know that. I don't know the future. I'm going to do my best. That I know. Okay. Minimizing, oh, yeah, I did a pretty good job on that project, but I could have done better. I don't know. It's like, could you have? Really? If you could have, why didn't you? That's the question here. And so we get in these kinds of ways. Even mind reading is a major weed in the mind garden. Like, they're thinking I'm not enough. Okay, well, who's the one really thinking that? last I checked, we're not able to read minds very well. I mean, we can kind of, those of us in psychology, there's some senses of things potentially, but that's not what we're talking about here. It's like they're thinking I'm this. No, you're thinking that, and then you can catch it. Oh my gosh, that's my thought, because it's so sneaky. The mind's tricky. Make you think that someone else is doing the thinking that's negative about you. But it's really us that's doing it. And if we change within ourselves, again, we're back to empowering ourselves, which is my goal for all of you in watching this, and taking the time to re-record this for y'all. So, we want to broaden the perspective that we're taking on our lives, on ourselves, not just us, but others, and challenging our thoughts, challenging our truth. What are the facts? When we engage in the courtroom of our mind, we have a little bit more objectivity. And we keep noticing the weeds, I'm lazy. I should do this. I'm stupid. This is stupid. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I won't be able to. I don't deserve it. Nobody likes me. What? Stop. You would never say those things to someone you love. I love you. Thank you. Forgive me. I'm sorry. A good replacement with shoulds, by the way, is could. I always try that. It's like, I could. Do I have to? I don't know. It's nice to have choices, right? I always feel I have more power. Even if my choices are limited, I have 3 choices. I could do this, this, or that. All right, I got power. I can choose. It's not, I should. And so I have to do what I don't want to do. Meh. It's so easy to rebel. We are most adults in America have their adolescent coming through in times. It just is the case. So what are some of the thoughts we want to plant? We're plucking the weeds out of our mind garden. What are the seeds we want to plant? And I mentioned a few of them. I'm doing the best I can. I think everyone's doing the best they can. It's true. And our best shifts. Our best is not going to be the same all the time. I want to do well, and I know I can. Okay, here we go. This is my intention. I'm setting an intention to do well, do the best I can. I know I'm worth it. Might feel odd, might feel a little foreign. I'm worth it, really? I was abused. I was horribly, treated. We tend to take on this lower self-esteem when we're treated so poorly. But that's a reflection of the person who abused you, not you. It's so hard on the heart. So, I don't know the future. All will turn out okay. It's going to have to. Does that mean without pain, without suffering, without loss? No, but it'll be okay. Pain, suffering, and loss generally are temporary. We move through all the different emotions, all the different experiences of life. Nobody gets out scot-free. Having a nice, peaceful life their entire life. It just doesn't really happen that way. Oftentimes, a useful thought to plant in your mind garden is something you would say to a dear loved one. And I want you to think about what you would say to someone you love who's going through the same exact situation you are. Whatever it is, I don't care. And I want you to think about what you would say to that person. It's usually more kindness, more compassion, more love, and more understanding or context of the situation at hand. This is so notable. People, most people that I've talked to over the years, and myself included, are super compassionate people. They have such an understanding of other people's contexts. Oh, well, they were late. Well, they've got a lot going on, and, their mom's sick, and I think their daughter had a flu last week, and it's okay. They're late. I'm a terrible person, and Well, wait, didn't you have a daughter that was sick and a mom that it's like, well, yeah, but where is the equality? If the context of someone else's situation is apparent to you and you have compassion for them, we have got to become more aware of the context of our own situation. And a lot of times that seems to be, I'll talk to people that be like, I don't know why I'm so sad today or whatever. And it's like, we start talking and it's like, well, my dog was sick and, my son yelled at me and then my wife was not being very nice. It's like, well, all those things happen. I can see why you're sad. It's like, well, I guess you're right. I know that each person can think about the broader scope of their life and go, I am testy as hell today. And oh, I didn't get very much sleep last night. There was this other thing. Okay, I'm starting to understand the context. That makes sense. This is how we gain and draw on compassion. And we need compassion, especially for ourselves. If we're going to empower ourselves with mindfulness, make changes, pluck these weeds, plant more seeds, we have got to be compassionate. And we have to see the broader picture of what's going on in our lives. We are all going through something very difficult. Always something. Various levels, various intensity levels. And if I know, it doesn't have to be someone I know and all about their daughter and their, or whatever. I could be someone that cuts me off on the road and then they drive off. Maybe, I don't know what's going on in their lives, but I can have an idea that probably something's hard. Let's face it, life is hard. This being human thing is a rough go. It's also very joyful and beautiful. But we're holding all that all at once. It's not like, oh, I'm having a wonderful day. There's usually something. People go through a lot of difficulties. And sometimes just giving them the benefit of the doubt is like, there's some sort of difficulty I don't know about and it's okay. So, give yourself some credit. Give yourself the context of yourself and your life, and have some faith in yourself. You can do this. You are able, and there's the power, right? So, around this way that we're thinking and talking and expecting things from each other, we teach others how to treat us by how we treat ourselves. And I think this is very subtle energy. I don't know exactly how this works, but it sure does seem like we're all a lot of mirrors for ourselves, and each other. So when we treat ourselves with more kindness, first we have a friend within. So then if someone else doesn't treat, we're like, oh, okay, well, bummer on that person. We can shift the pattern to a friendly tone. And when we do that and we're coming around friendly with ourselves, then we're more apt to run into friendlier people. It's just the kind of like attracts like. And if I have the energy of conflict and judgment within myself, that's like that toxic judgment, then I'm going to end up finding that more in my world. I truly believe that. A moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. A string of such moments can change the course of your entire life. It's a quote by Christopher Germer. So I want you to think about how you're bringing self-compassion to yourself, and the power that lies within, offering that to yourself. Foreign for some, very foreign, that's okay. Same with when we started walking as, 1 or 2 year old. It's foreign. And then everybody's just getting up and walk, taking a step. It's for the most part, outside of disabilities and such, we're walking. And as foreign as it was, it's not foreign anymore. So I want you to remember that as well. Okay, let's talk about working with emotions. This is the tough one. Can we really control our emotions? A lot of people are like, controlling emotions, huh? Well, I see it this way. Emotions are going to come and go, much like the clouds in the sky. So, we can't always control what comes and goes because there's situations happening and we're going to have emotional responses. And there's even thoughts going on we're not even aware of. We have emotional responses too. So what we can't say, well, I will control that I never have anger. That's a fallacy. But I certainly can control the intensity of the anger, how intense it becomes, and bringing it down to a manageable experience. So there's two ways to do that. I can, identify and shift thoughts that, are not reality based. So, maybe the thought is like, I never get respect around here, and then anger, no one respects me. And then it's like, wait a minute, no one respects me? Well, my boss kind of respects me. And, my other friend, it's like, well, do I respect me? Yeah, you include yourself in the mix. Do I respect me? Yeah, I do. Okay, well, then that thought isn't real. It's not that no one respects me. It's that this one person, and I felt like they were disrespectful. Were they? Well, I mean, they are going through a lot, and well, why am I getting so triggered by this? Well, I'm feeling insecure, right? So we're just taking off the layers, the little bits at a time here, and then it's like, oh, so that can help shift the intensity. That's one way. Second way is to choose healthy behaviors. So thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Our feelings are in the middle here. We got the thoughts. We're working on the thoughts. We can shift them, and then the behaviors. Okay, well, it's like, I'm super angry. I don't know, some sort of news broadcast, or I'm super sad about a terrible earthquake and thousands of people died. How can I take care of myself? What are the behaviors I can do to care for myself? Not, I got to do the self-care maintenance BS. It's like, when we think of care, I want you to really think of care, self-care, not maintenance, not have-tos, not shoulds, just the wrapping of love, the wrapping around somebody with love, like the real offering of care that we give to someone, to give that to ourselves, especially when the intensity of emotion is really high. That can really help soothe. And it's a self-soothing thing that some of us have learned from parents. Some of us did not learn that one bit. And we have to learn it now. And then we're being our own parent for the inner child that needs that soothing, that needs the care. And, whether you've been abused or harmed or whatever, or not, we still need the care. Life is not easy. So, I think a lot of the messages in our society really, really bum us out and keep us avoiding, get those emotions away, especially as women. It's like, oh, you don't want to come off as this like highly over emotional woman. It's like, ugh, here she goes again. That whole way of thinking, which is, it's so painful because we all are human and we're all having emotions. And it's been, I think, stereotyped as women have these emotions and men, we're the rocks. Not true. Everyone has different emotions because we're human. So, these messages in society keep it pushed down. It's an inconvenience. It gets in the way of our logic. Keep it at bay. Keep it under control. Boys don't cry. No. There's a time and a place. And just like being and doing, we want to thread logic and feeling together. Because I don't want my feelings to throw me so I'm completely illogical, which sometimes, when you're not dealing with emotions, that's the way it can feel. And so it's like, get it away. I'm not feeling that. I get it. Build some tolerance, build a little bit here, a little bit there. So you feel for 10 seconds. What does it feel in my body? Ugh, this sadness is hard, heavy. Heavy in my chest, heavy in my belly. Bleh. Can I breathe? Okay. You know what? This is really uncomfortable. Blah. Okay, Netflix. Right. Okay, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go clean out a drawer. I'm going to call a friend. I cup of tea, something. I'm going to distract. There's the threading. So you take a moment, you identify, I feel sad. This is what it feels like on my body. Give it 10 seconds. You have welcomed the guest, so to speak, the Rumi poem, which is, I will post on my website along with the PowerPoint for this presentation. We welcome the emotion into our body. One way I like to think about things like this, I mentioned that, it's just kind of like coming and going like the weather. Yeah. Pema Chodron has a famous quote. It's, "You are the sky. Everything else, it's just the weather." So remember, you are the sky in all this. So mindful choices, the behavior part, right? We've been talking about thoughts. We've been talking about emotions. Let's talk about behaviors a little more. We got choices. To feel empowered, we got choices. And if we're making mindful choices from a clear, grounded perspective, then we're going to feel so much better about ourselves. So when we slow down, we give thought to all our choices, we can attend to the emotions. Remember they're temporary, and then take care of ourselves. So I want you to ask yourself, when you're feeling a real intense emotion, what do I need? And not just, what do I need? I don't know, whatever. And then you're off. It's, what do I need? Listen. I need to rest. I don't want to rest. I got too much to do. I need to calm myself more. I don't have time. Classic thoughts, right? You have time. We will take the time. This is what matters. And I know some people have very demanding lives. I get that. And they may have to come last on some of these things. There's still time if you make it. And it's not selfish. There is nothing narcissistic about creating time for yourself. It's put the mask on yourself on the airplane and then put the mask on others. Those who just put it on themselves and sit there and continue reading their book or whatever, those are the narcissistic ones. Those that put everyone's mask on and then pass out in the aisle. Well, we got, kind of an opposite problem. Your mask, fill your cup, take good care, give to others. You can do that. It's not selfish. Self-care is necessary to fill one's cup. In fact, I have this quote at my desk by Eleanor Brown. It says, "Rest and self-care are so important. When you take time to replenish your spirit, it allows you to serve from the overflow. You can't serve from an empty vessel. It's just impossible." So, you might choose a lot of different things, your coping toolbox, So what are all these coping things that, people can do? Like deep breaths, always available, every moment of the day, always. So just taking a few deep breaths right now can ground us, can slow us down, can just bring us to a more calming place. Listening to music, love music, whether you want it to uplift you, you want it to calm you, do some art, TV. Netflix is, it's not horrible. It's a great distraction. Wonderful stories. Reading can be a wonderful tool. Video games, okay, there's nothing wrong. This is all about dosage of all these things, right? Even alcohol could be a coping, but dosage is key. Do you need a glass of wine every night? How is that on your liver? I don't know. Maybe, just a half a glass after you have done some processing. Okay, cool. That could be very relaxing and very healthy with a nice hot bath or something, and then a good night's sleep. Exercise. It's huge on the brain. It has such an impact on our neurotransmitters. So stay active. Keep on moving. Keep your body moving. Whether you dance around or walk around or, just strut around, whatever you got to do, just keep your body in motion. Talk about it. Move the thoughts, move the words in your mind. Blah, what am I thinking? Let me talk to someone about it. Reach out. Clean a drawer, clean a room, journal about it. There's a great journaling tool that I have on my website as well. It's like 5 columns. It's like, okay, what's the situation? Write down the situation. What are all the thoughts? I'm not good enough. The situation is like, you got a D on a test or something. I'm never going to pass this class. Nothing's ever going to work for me. I'm stupid. I mean, some of these like really harsh stuff. I don't know. And then, okay, coming back, what is this thought? How does it make me feel? What does this thought make? So I always like to, because I practice all these things myself. This is coming from a place where I'm doing the work too. And I will always be doing this work. If I have a ton of thoughts coming at me, then it's like this thought, that, I just write it down. It's like a whole column of all these thoughts. And I get it out, and then I come back to the top. How does this make me feel? What's true? And then we go into the courtroom of the mind with all the evidence, so to speak. And then, what's the behavior? What can you do, to slow down, to effectively care for yourself? Just breathe. So, how does mindfulness really empower us? It helps us slow down. It strengthens our inner observer, which we know is a point of power. And we're able to manage our inner world a little more. We're more connected to our inner world. We're not just connected to our external. We cannot be external locus of control. Our control cannot be external. We are always going to feel powerless in that scenario. Power comes from within. So keep in mind our choices. That's another way it powers it. So we, stay attuned with an attentive mindset of how we're thinking and the choices we have. It guides us to be more objective in this very subjective world we're in, but I want to create as much objectivity as possible. That can be done with a more broadened mindset. Hold on, what's going on? What's really happening? We just take a moment to just slow down. We may challenge the truth of our thoughts, especially if we're saying negative things about ourselves. What? Challenge that. It reminds us also to breathe deep, to slow everything down just a little bit, to center ourselves. So, the human brain doesn't stop developing until age 26. So the more you practice checking your thoughts, the more areas of especially when your brain is developing, but even after, can be really useful for, mindfulness studies are, rampant across the country. And we are finding more and more how beneficial this practice is for people feeling better, taking, power, taking the reins of their own mind, because no one else is going to do that for you. This is our work, our inner work. No one else can help. We could support each other, certainly, in that, but no one else can do that work but me, for me. So, practice a little bit each day. This is not something that you have to, I've got an hour of meditation now. No. Threads. Ideally it's, 5 to 10 threads a day, meaning you slow down and go, what's that? Oh, okay. All right. I'm off again. Slow down. Okay. Oh, all right. Working with the judgment. So stay in the moment. Alarms are great to remind ourselves. Post-it notes, intentional reminders. What is your intention? If you set your intention after watching this, that is the first step. And that's going to help you. So then how to keep that intention? We got to keep remembering it is the key. It's one thing I love about my job is that I'm constantly reminding everybody, and then comes right back. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. It's a perk, I will tell you that. So stay curious. Curiosity is where all of this realm becomes kind of exciting. If we, when we're not so afraid and avoiding it, like, oh, get it away, there's such a beauty to the terrain. Such it's very textured, is what I find. People talk about layers of an onion or something like that. There's so much there as we go, and we may feel kind of raw. So we're not going to push it. We're just take it easy, and bring compassion to any judgment that we notice about ourselves. Like, I wouldn't say that to my loved one, but somehow I'm saying it to myself. But I believe it about myself, so I'm having a hard time changing it. Okay, well, thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. It's such a simple phrase, right? Notice your breath as often as you possibly can. The moment that you remember you're not in the moment, bam, you're back in the moment, right? So your intention is set. You're listening more without reacting with judgment as much. Now you got a bigger perspective on things. And you can play. Because true power, this is a Jung Pueblo quote, true power is living the realization that you are your own healer, hero, and leader. And you are. If each of us take this on, then we've got true equality. How do we get equality if everyone else has it, but I don't? I'm not equal to them. And that is one of the biggest problems I see in our society. We are all equal. And that means equal to compassion, equal to context, equal to, broader perspectives and understanding. So this is a huge part of empowering ourselves, is remembering our equality. No matter your skin color, no matter your race, no matter your sexual or gender orientation, it does not matter. We are all equal. We are all human beings doing the best that we can with what we got to work with. And I'm hoping this presentation gave you more to work with so that we're not so afraid and we're not so caught up in the doing that we lose track of what's underneath, because it is where our power lies. So please feel free to comment on this video. As I mentioned, the PowerPoint for this presentation is on my website, is drlisatempleton.com. I also have meditations, and the Rumi poem will be posted, and various blog posts that continue to teach and guide others and helping themselves and each other as we all work to move and shake in this wild world we're living in. So please reach out if you have any questions. I am always open to comments as well. So thank you so much for listening to this presentation. And I also will have references listed in my PowerPoint if you're interested in learning more about mindfulness. Thank you so much. Namaste. The light in myself honors and respects the light that it shines within you from your heart into the world and lights others as you care and love yourself. That broadens into the world. Thank you.